Hello. Every time I say hello like that, I think of the belly button talker in Seinfeld. Are you a deep cut Seinfeld guy or no?
I'm not an anything Seinfeld guy.
Oh, Tyler.
Yeah,
Well, there's
nope.
one where
Sorry, I know. Listen, you and I had a good run.
yeah, one of Jerry's many girlfriends. Him and George did a voice for hello, ba, ba, ba. And then they thought her belly button talked like that, and she asked Jerry to stop doing it, or she would leave him. And Jerry and George had to decide if the voice was better than the girl. Hello, bum, bum, bum. Happy Thursday to everybody. Happy Eagles game day to everybody out there. Happy day to our coworker, Mr. Vinny Curry, who's getting retired tonight as an official Philadelphia Eagle legend, Super Bowl winner. Very awesome stuff. I'll be in a little bit later into the offices. We're going to be doing a pregame, a watch along, a post game, and Vinny's going to join us for the post game, I believe. So make sure you're checking that out. Huge game tonight, Tyler. But obviously we're a baseball show, so we're not going to go too deep in that. But happy Birds game day to everybody. All right. Good conversation yesterday with Matt Gelb. Enjoyed having him on to talk about some of the free agent options, whether it be bullpen, outfield trade, free agent, who stays, who goes. And tomorrow at 11:45, Jim Salisbury is going to join us to continue that conversation. You got to digest that. I feel like you're a big Ryan Helsey guy. What's your hopes and wants after yesterday's talk?
The stuff is there. There's no doubt about it, right? Like high velocity fastball, good stuff. I think a lot of Phillies fans, the only thing that they can keep in their minds with Ryan Helsley is the blow up in game 1 of the wild card round 3 years ago. But the stuff is there. The stuff is there. The numbers are there. I mean, you take a look at a guy who last year posted just above a 2 ERA, 79 strikeouts in, I think it was like 65-ish innings pitched, 1-1 whip, which is, serviceable enough. Doesn't walk a ton of guys, 23 walks last year in 66 innings. The year prior, he only ended up pitching 36, but 17 walks. The stuff is there. There's no doubt about it. 2-time All-Star. Actually got Cy Young votes a couple of seasons ago. If you can acquire a player of that caliber, I think you would be foolish not to try.
Yeah, sure. It's going to be interesting, and Devin Williams is another guy. We'll have to get somebody on from Milwaukee to see what his back health status is there, and can you trust him going forward, and who's interested in Alec Boehm. The winter meetings are 2.5 weeks away roughly.
Yep.
And that's when things will really start to pick up. But as Matt pointed out yesterday, trades are more likely to happen now leading up to it than signings. So
yeah, I think that's something that you and I talked about on Monday, I believe. I think that we're both in agreement with that feeling as well. I mean, there's a monetary cap, not to say that there's a salary cap, but I think there's a number within the organization that they're going to say, we're not going over this threshold, whether it's the tax threshold or whether it's a number that they feel comfortable using. There's a number within the John Middleton, Dave Dombrowski, Preston Mattingly group that they collectively have come to an agreement on and say, we're not spending over this. That doesn't necessarily have to apply if you make a trade. Now, if you acquire somebody who's making $25 million and you're giving up prospects, then it pushes that number no matter what. But if you're flipping a major league player for a major league player, or you find somebody who's on the final year of their deal and you feel like you can construct an extension that is, fairly friendly to you, I think the Phillies will be much more aggressive. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to make a move, because trading partners means that you need another team to agree to it. But I think they're going to be more aggressive and more outgoing in a trade capacity than they will be in a free agent capacity.
Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks leading up to the winter meetings. My general gut feeling, I wonder where you feel. I know Juan Soto and Scott Boras have hijacked the markets in the past, and Bryce Harper didn't sign until the first week of March or whatever it was. I feel like this offseason is going to be quicker.
I do too. I think that last year, Boras, especially with Snell and Montgomery, Boras miscalculated last year. And I think it cost them, both of those guys, a significant amount of money. Now, I think Blake Snell is going to get paid because he pitched pretty well this year. Jordan Montgomery had to end up opting into his second year of his contract, his player option, because he knew he wasn't going to get that in the open market. And the Diamondbacks still are sitting here. I was listening to the PHNX show a couple days ago talking about it. They're still looking to shop him because they don't want to pay him. The owner basically blatantly said, we messed up, and this is a bad signing on my part. I think Scott Boras kind of hurt his clients last year, those two guys specifically. I don't think he's going to let them sit around as long this year.
Yeah, and Juan Soto is obviously the crown jewel, but Roki Sasaki will happen quickly because of the 45-day window when he's posted and yada, yada, yada. I just feel like this year's not going to go into like late January and be like, oh, where's Juan Soto going to? I feel like that comes, I don't know. It feels to me just like gut guess based on vibes alone, like sometime in December.
Yeah, I didn't feel that way a couple of weeks ago just because of the kind of the precedent that got set with Major League Baseball and free agency. But, you're seeing these reports that like Soto's kind of ready to not to make a decision, but kind of ready to narrow the group down a little bit. I wouldn't be stunned if it happens before the holiday season.
Yeah. So a little bit of today, we're going to dive into the center fielder free agent class that's out there. And our preview of that is woof. It is award season. Most of the awards have been announced across Major League Baseball. We have our random Phillies trivia, and Buster Olney had a breakdown of not only the big players this offseason, in which the Phillies were one of them, but a lot of NL East nuggets as well in regards to the Braves and the Mets. Always good to keep an eye on what those rats are doing. So let's get it started with the center field talk here today, Tyler. Obviously, Johan Rojas is very cheap. Guess what? Did you know he plays good defense?
I thought you said we didn't have to do that anymore.
But offensively, like he's serviceable. He's fine. If you upgrade another position in the outfield, I think you feel a lot better about Johan Rojas. Certainly somebody you could potentially move on from. You could make a bench player. You could I don't know. The options are there with him, and the left field, center field option, as we've talked about, Brandon Marsh is a very nice piece to have, because whether it's easier to upgrade center field or left field, Marsh can play either. So he gives you that kind of flexibility when looking at the best outfield free agent. The center field class is not stellar, so you kind of compare all these guys to Johan Rojas, and it's like, okay. Is it an upgrade? Is it a clear upgrade? Do I want to do this? So let's get into some of the names that are out there. It's not really pretty. It's not very exciting. I think left field is the better free agent class, but we'll see if that comes about trade. So the first name up, and I know Barbara Carroll in the chat will be excited. She said he's muscular and cute. That's your boy Harrison Bader. Tyler, what would you like to tell us about Harrison Bader?
I think Harrison Bader is probably the premier center fielder of this free agent class. And I use the word premier not to say that I believe he is a top end.
You just said he's better than Aaron Judge.
Yeah, that's
the premier center fielder in the league.
Words in my mouth. In fact, I think I would take him over prime Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle. No, so I think he is the best center fielder available in free agency this offseason. And what exactly does that mean? Well, it means that Harrison Bader has a track record of being an everyday major league center fielder, whereas some of the other guys that are available are either, on the very downswing of their career, or just, I don't think are viable everyday center fielders. Right-handed hitter who actually had inverse splits last year. He was better against right-handed pitching than he was against left-handed pitching. A very, very, very good defender. He is I think at this point, probably a subpar offensive player. I think last year he hit 236 with the Mets. The OBP is concerningly low throughout the last couple of years.
OPS is only 86.
Right. The OPS, I think the numbers are trending probably in the wrong direction from the guy that I thought was going to be a very viable everyday center fielder when he came up with St. Louis about half a decade ago now. But 2018 and 2021 were his two best years as a Cardinal, and that seems to be like a really long time in the rearview mirror. He's had stops in New York. He's had stops in Cincinnati. Then he went to the Mets, went back to New York and was with the Mets last season. Played 143 games last year for the Mets, who probably overpaid a little bit for him to get his services on a one-year deal. I think offensively speaking, I'm not thrilled with a Harrison Bader. I don't think I'm thrilled with any of these guys, but offensively speaking, he's probably the best of the group. With that being said, I think because of the need for outfield help across Major League Baseball, I think Bader probably gets paid more than what I believe he deserves. His market value is going to probably be inflated, considering A, he is a very, very good defender, and B, the center field crop is pretty darn bad. I don't think the Phillies will be in play for a Harrison Bader because I think a team somewhere is going to overpay for him to be their everyday center fielder or pretty close to it.
Yeah, his market projection is 7.1 AAV. So figure maybe in that 7.5 neighborhood. Usually they're a tad low. Yeah, like Harrison Bader, Barbara Carroll says he's better than Marsh. He's a better center fielder than Marsh. I'll give him that. But I don't know if he's a better player. And if that's what you have to compare it to, is he better than Rojas? Probably. Definitely. Is he better than Marsh? I don't know. And that's kind of what you have to compare it to here when you evaluate it. Harrison Bader doesn't move my needle a lot. I'll say that. Is it a clear upgrade? Do you have an answer?
Good question. I don't know definitively the answer to that question is yes. If it's $7 million, if that's what it actually is, I think a team will take a shot on him. And maybe the Phillies would be a team that would be interested at $7 million. It's a fairly cheap deal.
It's not much money, no.
What I'm saying is I'm curious to see if the market value is 7, does he actually get a 12, like an 11 or a 12, or you know what I mean? Because of how little this center field talent pool is exciting this offseason. I don't know the answer to that question. Like I said, I think he got about $10 million last year. Maybe it was a little bit more from the Mets. To answer your question, I don't think it's a definitive upgrade. No, I mean,
isn't he a platoon player? Like ideally,
I think in an ideal world, yes, he's probably a platoon player and a very, very excellent defender. We've made mention of that, but doesn't walk a ton. The OBP is low. His chase rate is high. He's at 33% in the chase rate last year. And I think it was Elephant in the Room brought it up. Like his baseball savant is all blue and gray, and that's not a good thing. He doesn't hit the ball particularly hard, doesn't hit the ball particularly like on the sweet spot, like barreling things up. I think I'm out on Harrison Bader, and I think I was prior to this, and I think I've talked myself even further to being out.
Yeah, like I'd almost rather gamble on the upside of Rojas. If the two options were gun to my head, Rojas at a much cheaper number, and the potential of getting better versus Bader, like it's kind of like short-term, long-term games at that point, and I'd rather gamble on Rojas. So it looks like the chat is somewhat split. I know Barbara likes them. I think I saw our man John Sequella earlier tweet me Harrison Bader, so I wonder if that means he has some intrigue. Ray says I'd rather have Rojas than Bader. Elephant in the Room agrees. WMP, what up? Says pass on Bader. But that's why I said this crop, Tyler, is just woof. Because if he's the best, we're already passing on the top option.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I think of the guys that we're going to talk about over the next couple of minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes, however long this conversation takes, I think the understanding is that Johan Rojas is limited offensively as well. So you're talking about a known versus bringing somebody in, and adding a contract to the fold. I don't know exactly. What you're paying for all of these guys. I would imagine outside of Bader, I don't know if any of these guys that we're about to talk about even get major league deals. They may be minor league deals with invites to camp. So with that being said, there's a limited upside offensively with everybody that we're going to discuss today.
How did center field, I don't know, become such a? Did it really just become a value defense over everything else? Because it's one of the weakest now, 3 OPS positions in baseball offensively. It just, unless it's like an Aaron Judge, there's a couple, but it's just become like a offensively weak position.
I think teams are willing to live with poor offensive, I shouldn't say poor, but less than stellar offensive production from the center field position, assuming two things. One, they play very good defense, and two, they have at least one player beside them, either on the in left field or in right field, that is the offensive producer for their team. Very infrequently are you going to get an Aaron Judge who plays center field and also hits 50 home runs. That just
him and Julio Rodriguez are rare. And did Julio get moved
to what?
A corner or no? I said that out loud, and I was like,
I don't know the answer to that off the top
of my head. He played them right last year, but whatever. Yes, and Barbara, we're gonna get to the rest of the list here. Michael Taylor is gonna be up next, Tyler, but we're gonna take a quick moment to tell you about our friends here at PHLY.
Yeah, give me 1 second. We'll figure this out in just a second. I'm trying to do too many things at once, but yes.
You can't juggle, clown?
No, I can't. Actually, I can't. Let me tell you about our friends over at Rite Aid, because, friends, it is cold and flu season, and unfortunately, things are it's difficult. Whether you are an adult, you have newborns, maybe you're a little bit older, whatever the case may be, I know that those issues are going to arise, and Rite Aid is going to help you at least with one thing, and they're going to help protect you from pneumonia. So now adults age 50 and older are eligible for the vaccine. Now think about this. It was previously 65 plus, but the CDC lowered the age recommendation to 50 and older. So millions of people are able to go and get the pneumonia vaccine. Millions of people do get pneumonia every year. It is a respiratory illness, and fall and winter is really, as I said, it's the time where these things kind of prop up. So you want to keep yourself healthy as the holidays come around. You're going to be around family, you're going to be around friends. So you want to keep yourself and those around you safe. So you can head on over to Rite Aid and get the pneumonia vaccine. It is one of the best ways to help keep yourself healthy, and it is usually at no cost with insurance. And getting vaccinated is easy. Just walk into your local Rite Aid or schedule online at riteaid.com. If you're unsure about what vaccines you may need, you can just head on over to the pharmacy and ask one of the pharmacists for a personal recommendation. You can stop by your local Rite Aid today.
And let me tell you about our friends over at Bet365. You can find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Like tonight, our custom PHLY odds boost. It's right there on the homepage at Bet365 right now. Got a little birds parlay boost for you. We need Jalen Hurts to score a touchdown, A.J. Brown 75 plus receiving yards, and an Eagles money line that got boosted up to plus 450. And 90 million people worldwide use Bet365, and 90 million people can't be wrong. They stream over 780,000 events every year. They have the best early payout offers in sports across NBA, NFL, NHL, and Major League Baseball. Whatever it is, if your team hits that criteria, you'll get cashed out right then and there. Don't even have to wait until the end of the game. They pioneered live in-game betting, and they're just the best at it. They offer the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 different sports. So right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Use code PHLY365 to sign up. Deposit that $10 and place a $5 bet, and boom, you'll get $150 in bonus bets. Bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. So download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Get that $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, you can call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, this is the PHLY Phillies podcast. We're going over the top free agent center field options, and it's not an extensive or good list. Next up, Tyler, is Michael Taylor, 6'4" center fielder, right-handed bat, almost a one-WAR player last year. Batting average, woof. On base, woof. Slugging, non-existent. OPS plus 52.
52.
Can you talk me into this one? Because this is a hard no for me, dog.
No, this is a player that was talking about guys that may end up not getting major league deals. I'm not so sure Michael Taylor gets a major league deal. He can't hit anymore. He's an elite level defender. Don't get me wrong. I think this is a good group of defensive center
We
fielders.
have that already.
The problem is nobody can hit in this group. 35% strikeout rate last year, which was the highest of his career. He whiffed on 43% of the breaking balls he saw, 52% of the off-speed pitches he saw in 2024. He flat out cannot hit. He hit under 200 against right-handed pitching and against left-handed pitching. This is a big time. We don't have to have too much of a conversation. Big time no for me.
Yeah, we don't have to spend much more time on him at all. It is that's a no for me, dog. Yeah, I'm out. All right, next up on the center field free agent list is Garrett Hampson.
Stop me if you've heard this one before, Jamie. Good defender, runs the bases well, and cannot hit.
A .4 WAR last year, so he's about as basic can be. 230 batting average, on base sub 300, slugging 300, OPS plus 63. Man, this class sucks.
So the Royals gave Hampson about 200 bats last year. He hit 230. Speed's good. A good base runner. A good defender as well. I wouldn't say he's in the echelon of Taylor and Bader. I think he's maybe a step down, but it's still a very good defender. Only hit 230. Doesn't get on base nearly as much. And if you look actually statistically at the offensive numbers, and I think you're going to see this for not just Hampson, but Taylor and some of the other guys we've talked about or we're going to talk about, Johan Rojas actually had a better offensive season this year than Hampson did. More at bats, obviously, a larger sample size. Hampson only got about 200 at bats with the Royals. He was predominantly a bench player. But again, this is a pretty easy no for me. I don't like this class. I think the answer across the board is going to be no.
Johan Rojas?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Well, the next one at least is a name. I feel like you've been a fan of his in his career. Am I right or wrong there? Okay. And that's Kevin Pillar. He's getting up there a little bit.
The issue here, Jamie, is he's probably going to retire. He hasn't officially announced it yet, but he kind of did the ceremonious retire thing.
I missed that. What did he do?
He just they kind of made it pretty obvious that he was going to retire. I'm like 99% sure he's going to not play this season. He hit his 10 years of service time in 2024, which means he's a vested vet and he gets all of the benefits with 10 years of service time.
The gold card. You can get in any stadium for the rest of your life.
Insurance for life and all of this kind of stuff. So I think he hit that threshold. I think he realizes his best days are behind him. I was a huge Kevin Pillar fan when he was in Toronto. When he was in Toronto. I don't think he's going to play next year. I think that's the easy answer.
Yeah, and what's funny is I would take him over the last two guys we mentioned.
If he was going to play, sure.
Yeah, if he was going to play, I would take him over the last two guys we talked about, Michael Taylor and Hampson. I just think he's still offensively better, even if he's a guy off the street in retirement than the previous two guys.
His last tweet was, "Best place to order custom trucker hats. Thanks." Yeah, I don't think he's thinking about baseball right now.
No, that man sounds like he is on the verge of retirement. Good for him getting that.
Hit 230 last year, sub 300 OBP. He's not the defender he was when he was an elite. I mean, there was points in his career when I think he was an elite defender, posted a 3, a 2.8, and a 3 over the course of 3 seasons for WAR. He's obviously not the same player that he was. And again, I don't think he's going to play next year.
Yeah, and Ray, I hear you. We're going to do the trade targets probably as soon as the free agent stuff is over with. I'd much rather just keep Johan Rojas than almost all of these guys. Barbara Carroll wants to know if George Springer can play center field anymore. I think those days are kind of behind him, aren't they?
I'm trying to remember the last year he was a full-time center fielder. I'm going to go back and look for you. Let me see the last time
Barbara Carroll sending homework assignments to the NRD.
Yeah, I mean, he played 40 games in center. He played, that was back in 2021, excuse me. He played 123 of his 124 games in right last year. Same thing in 2023. I guess the last time he was a full-time center fielder was 2022. He played 86 games in center field. I would say the answer to that question is probably not. He's played over 800 games in right field at this point. I don't think so anymore.
Yeah, and his arm value is negative. His range is he's at the 50% mark. He still has decent arm strength. His arm value is bad, but he still has a 72 sprint speed on MLB Savant. So there is still some athleticism there. Tyler, this next guy, again, we can talk about him for about 15 seconds because I don't think he's going to be in Major League Baseball. He's that bad. And I don't like looking at him in a baseball hat. So I definitely don't want him on my team. And that's Aaron Hicks.
Nope.
A negative 0.7 WAR last year. A slugging percentage, only 57 at bats, but his slugging percentage was 193. His OPS plus was 20. His OPS was 415. You've massacred my center field free agent options. This is terrible.
DFA'd by the Yankees last year, picked up by Baltimore. Wasn't very good. Signed as a free agent with the Angels. They cut him in May. That's about all they needed to see. This guy is not a major league player anymore. I think that the last time he was probably a viable major league player was about 4 years ago at this point. This guy's not a major league player anymore.
All right, this one, Tyler, was at least a name coming up. I believe he came up with the Rays. I could be mistaken.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, Manuel Margot. He's got a big old face on him. He's a free agent. He is, I'm trying to get the age. He's a stout little guy, 5'11".
I'll be 30
years old. He once was a highly touted prospect. He was almost a full negative WAR player last year. Another sub 300 OBP. OPS plus 76. He's not a starter. He's a platoon guy. I'm out.
Yeah, his hard hit percentage went way down from a couple of seasons ago. Not a lot of pop. I mean, there never was any pop. Doesn't swing and miss a ton, but like, I'm not sure what the upside is. I mean, maybe this is a kind of player that you would consider as a bench piece outfielder. I
could see that, but I'd rather have Cody Clemens, you know?
Sure. And then that's where the conversation arises. Like, are you talking about Weston Wilson and a Manuel Margot type of player? Decent defender. His metrics weren't great last year, but he has always been a very solid center fielder. And in fact, there was one time he was probably like a borderline elite defender with Tampa. I think those years are probably behind him. I think his best. This is a list of guys whose best years are all behind them. Like, that's what I think. That's what we've come to the understanding of. Is there's nobody really on this list that I don't even think they're. Some of them maybe didn't have a prime. Some of them are out of their prime. Some of them may be ready to go hit the golf course. Like,
Margot was supposed to have a nice prime.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be really good, and he really never materialized. He and Bader are probably the two that I would talk about of this group, and it's probably two guys that both never became the players a lot of people expected them to be. Listen, both major league players, and I think that Harrison Bader has made himself into an everyday player for a while in his career. There's nothing wrong with that. I just think both of these guys were were both pretty highly touted, and I don't think either of them maybe made it to the level that they expected them to.
Yeah, let them be somebody else's problem. I'd rather Johan Rojas and Brandon Marsh are better options than almost every single one of these guys. So we will explore the center field options maybe that could be available via trade, especially when the rumor mill is picking up here in the coming weeks leading up to the winter meetings in early December. Excited to hear I'll be back on MLB trade rumors every day. I'll be searching names on Twitter to see what local beats are saying, and we'll do all of that too. So what we learned today, center field options in free agency are utter dog bleep, and we do not want to explore really much of anything here at all. So good exercise, but we do that to just point out.
An exercise in futility?
Yeah, basically, if you want to improve center field, it's not going to be through free agency.
Yeah, what people may not know, because I have this backdrop behind me. Behind me, there's a brick wall. I can just run into it if that's what you're talking about, exercises in futility.
Yeah. All right, let's take a quick pause here, and we will tell you about some of our friends here at PHLY.
Yeah, let me tell you about our friends over at Empire, because as Jamie always likes to tell you, you know them, you know the jingle, but do you know what Empire stands for? What Empire stands for is incredible customer service, quality, service, speed, all of it packaged together, but they don't want to rush you through the process. They also don't want to make things too overly complicated for you, because I don't know if you're like me, but I've never shopped for flooring before. And as you start to think about what your home is going to look like, as you start to think about what your ideal living situation is, and whether you're thinking about upgrading your living room, your kitchen, your dining room, your bathroom, Empire is going to help you kind of wade through all of the decision making, because there is a lot to think about, but they're going to simplify it for you to have the best buying process, period. And one of the beautiful things about shopping at Empire today, especially when you head on over to empiretoday.com, you can use the virtual floor design. It is a great way to show how your new floors are going to look in any space. So whether, as I said, you're talking about your bathroom, your kitchen, your living room, you're looking to spruce up the house and you want to maybe put in some hardwood, maybe you're thinking about tile, maybe you want to just upgrade your carpet and get new carpeting, all you got to do is snap a picture of the room that you're thinking about, upload it to empiretoday.com, and they will show you exactly how your floors are going to look in your new room. Shopping for floors at a big box store can certainly be frustrating. Empire takes that guesswork, that difficulty out of it by allowing you to have the shop in-store feel, but doing it online. So schedule a free in-home estimate today, and all listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code PHLY. Restrictions do apply. Head on over to empiretoday.com/PHLY for more details.
Yesterday when I got home, I was like, ooh, there's a big box at my front door. What could it be? It was HelloFresh, and I was pumped to come inside, open it up, and find out what my first order with HelloFresh was. I got a pork cabbage slaw, like stir fry. I got a crunchy onion chicken meal. And then last night, because I am the dad chef for two picky young girls, I made the cheesesteak meatballs, or excuse me, cheeseburger meatballs, not cheesesteak meatballs, with some roasted potatoes and a special dipping sauce. And I didn't have to fight with the girls to eat it. They ate it up. And HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. So skip trips to the grocery store count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. It's why it's America's #1 meal kit. And the holiday seasons are coming up. My kids are running around constantly. Skylar's got like 4 different things a week, and getting to the store can just be a hassle sometimes. Thinking about what to make is way too much of a hassle to even think about. So whether you're craving hearty comfort food, trying to please picky 6-year-old eaters, or looking for a calorie-smart meal plan, HelloFresh has all those options and available more on a rotating menu of 50 recipes to choose from every week. And you just plug in your delivery date, boom, it's there that day. You can wow a crowd with your HelloFresh meals. I can't wait to run another one back tonight or tomorrow. So you can get 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com/free Phillies. Applied across 7 boxes. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's 10 free HelloFresh meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/free Phillies. America's #1 meal kit. And Tyler, you as a new dad don't have to worry about picky children eaters yet. But the cheeseburger meatball special sauce roasted potato meal last night was a big hit. I didn't even have to fight with them.
Does sound good. I do know this. We got a couple of HelloFresh stuff delivered. We didn't even think about it. Our friend sent it from Montana.
Oh, that's a great gift right there.
And sent it on over to us. We came in like the ice packs and everything.
Yeah,
it was great because I didn't have to worry about dinner last night.
That is a great gift for new parents. So one day you'll have to deal with a picky eater, but right now, just give me that milk or formula, baby. But it's a real pain with kids. So the meatball was a big hit last night. Had a good time. Chris Clement in the chat says, how about a trade of Mike Trout? This is going to come up this offseason, I'm sure. It's
going to come up every offseason.
I would have to think that Mike Trout has to be close to a breaking point with the Angels, right?
Like, I know
unless he likes playing.
Just enjoy making your money and living on the West Coast and not having a worry-free environment. Because if you do, then I don't know, maybe not.
So I have been told by people who claim to be in the know that Mike Trout does not want to play in Philadelphia. take that for whatever you want. He does have a cliffside mansion in Malibu. I can see why he'd like it there.
I don't blame him.
Now, he's injury prone as hell. We don't have to talk about Mike Trout, the player, because the player is modern day Mickey Mantle. Would you, if it became a palatable trade, and let's say the Angels are picking up, I don't even know what.
There has to be a significant amount of money.
I don't want to say half, but if the Angels are picking up like 35, 40% of what's left, would you?
Well, I mean, what's it per year? It's like 20 some odd per year, right?
I think it's more than that at that point. I'll pull up the contract right now.
Oh, it's 37 per year.
Yeah. It gets up.
Yeah, no, it's got to be more than that 30% you're talking about. I think I'm out. I think I'm good.
So he is signed through 2030.
Yeah,
and
I'm
it's
good.
Pretty much 35 a year. Now, I asked you because I've been out. I've said I don't want to count on a guy I can't count on. It's an inevitability that he's hurt
Luis
every
Robert.
year. Yeah. Well, yeah, I do. He's younger and cheaper.
Yeah, I don't have any interest in not in Luis Robert. I think I would there would be an interest in Luis Robert. I don't have any interest right now in Mike Trout, and that contract.
I'm out too. That's why I wanted to get your thoughts on that on the record here. All right, so we covered this free agent center field crop. Woo! Yesterday on ESPN, Buster Olney. Yeah, one of the most tied-in people in the game of baseball. And full transparency, I am trying to get Buster on the show. Sent a text to him yesterday, and hopefully it's something we can tie down because I would love to hear from Buster. He was the one years ago, Tyler. We had him on the radio early in the process in Bryce Harper's. It was actually that season leading up to Bryce Harper's free agency, and he said, I would bet my family farm in Vermont that Bryce Harper is a Philly. And that's what always made me feel good was Buster Olney.
He did say that. That's true.
Yeah. So he put a story out yesterday. When Buster talks, I listen because the man is tied in. Here's what he had to say about your Philadelphia Phillies. We're back on Garrett Crochet. Buster says the Phillies would have landed Crochet in July in all likelihood had they agreed to include pitcher Andrew Painter as part of their offer. Painter, now 21 years old and a top 100 prospect, has worked in the AFL as part of his recovery from Tommy John and looked good in 5 starts, posting a 2 ERA. Dave Dombrowski, the head of baseball operations for the Phillies, is operating a win-now team. Bryce Harper, Zach Wheeler, Trey Turner, and Aaron Nola are all in their prime of their careers, and JT, Kyle Schwarber, and Ranger Suarez are all a year from free agency. If Dombrowski pulls off a Crochet deal, he could build a monster rotation, something he knows about, some peers say, noting his time with the Tigers of Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez, Suarez, and Crochet. Taijuan Walker, though, is due $18 million over the next 2 years.
I think he's contractually obligated to put that parentheses in there.
Yeah. Besides augmenting the Phillies in the immediate future, Crochet, who is 25 years old, could be a part of a bridge into the future for what is generally an older team. And with the White Sox in rebuild mode and their payroll on the way down, it's possible that a Crochet Phillies deal could provide some kind of financial offload for the Phillies. Getz spoke with the Philadelphia at the GM meetings last week in San Antonio.
Yeah, there's not a surprise that the Phillies and the White Sox are going to re-engage in conversations. They were pretty intensive at the All-Star break from what we've learned. And as you read, it seemed to be the only thing stopping this from becoming a done deal at the trade deadline last year was Andrew Painter. And it feels like the Phillies are pretty much in the same boat where they don't want to move on from Andrew Painter in that regard. If there is a trade to be made for Garrett Crochet that doesn't include Andrew Painter, I think the Phillies will seriously consider it. There's no question in my mind.
Miller?
I think that they probably would. I do. And I don't personally think that I would. And John and I were talking about this morning. I think Aiden Miller and Andrew Painter are two of your probably your closest, highest echelon untradeable prospects. Now, of course, untradeable comes with a caveat of there's always a parentheses to it. There's always an asterisk to it if the right team with the right trade comes into play. I think that those two guys are pretty much as close to untouchable as they possibly can get as prospects. They don't want to include Andrew Painter. I think they probably would be very hesitant to include Aiden Miller. but I think they would field the conversation if it does not include Andrew Painter.
Yeah, Tristan Cassis, the Red Sox allegedly are dangling out. So the Phillies are not going to be alone in their pursuit.
No, there's going to be a ton
Crochet,
of teams that are in the conversation,
especially with his financial hit being so low the next 2 years.
2 years of arbitration control, as Buster points out, 25 years old. The one thing that made Crochet so successful this past season was probably about 3 or 4 starts in, he and the White Sox basically said, eliminate the sweeper from your pitch arsenal until we can kind of, work on it a little bit more. You're going to go fastball, cutter, overlay, and your cutter has so much movement that you basically are able to use it as your breaking ball. So what you're going to do is you're going to throw it on the fists of left-handed hitters and run it, off the fist and run it over the plate. And you're going to throw it off the back foot of right-handed hitters and utilize it as a downward breaking ball, basically. And he had an enormous amount of success with it, was an all-star, was in these trade talks with enormously gifted prospect conversations in return. I don't think that's going to change. I think the arrow's still pointing up for Garrett Crochet. He's only 25 years old. And with the monetary value that you just brought up, I think teams are going to be able to make pretty significant offers for Garrett Crochet. If the thing that holds you back is Andrew Painter, you're probably not going to acquire Garrett Crochet. If the thing that the player that holds you back is Aiden Miller, they might make that consideration.
2 interesting comments in the chat here. Trevor Rice says, if you trade Aiden Miller for Garrett Crochet, does that mean you hold on to Bohm? For the next 2 years, I would say, yeah. I don't know if they're going to want to play Bohm
until arbitration runs out.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if they're going to want to pay Bohm open market value, but they would certainly keep him for the next 2 at that point. Kevin says, what are the chances that Andrew Painter is the next Kyle Drabek? I would say very little.
I think it's not zero. It's a prospect, right?
Yeah, but Andrew Painter is phenomenal and much higher ranked and regarded than I think Kyle Drabek ever was. And then the Beyond the Bank says the Crochet situation is suspect. Starting pitching wasn't the problem in the playoffs. Focus on the bullpen and lineup. There's a big part of me that agrees with that. That you need more consistent bats to fix the Phillies issue rather than, say, a 5th starter. But the point that Buster makes that we've talked about, it's that bridge to the future thing. Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler aren't getting any younger. So if you are able to pair Garrett Crochet, and assuming you sign him at an open market rate and a fair deal, you would have potentially Andrew Painter, Christopher Sanchez, Garrett Crochet as a stabilizing young top 3 of your rotation for the future. That's what makes it interesting.
And I think that probably plays under the pretense that this would be the final year of Ranger Suarez as a Philly at that point. Yeah. You would have all 5 of them for this year. You would talk about that's your starting rotation is, it's Wheeler, Nola, Crochet, Sanchez, Suarez. And, you're talking about, do you split up lefty righties? Is Garrett Crochet your 2 and Aaron Nola is your 3, right? That's the fun conversation. That's the fun conversations you're going to have. That's under the pretense that the likelihood is that Ranger Suarez walks in free agency the following year because you are going to have to take that money and eventually pay Garrett Crochet. He's probably going to go he only made like $780,000 this year. I bet you he probably goes up to 2.5 or 3. He was an all-star, had a very successful year. He probably gets a pretty significant pay bump, but it's still nothing compared to what these, ace type of or number 2 type of pitchers are going to get. You're going to have to allocate those funds to him at some point if you want to keep him around long term. The good thing with that would be if Suarez does walk, Painter pretty effortlessly, I think, slides in 2026. And then you're looking at a rotation of Wheeler, Nola, Crochet, Sanchez, and Painter, which is equally very tantalizing.
Yes, very much so. The rest of Buster's piece, staying on Garrett Crochet, he moved on to the Atlanta Braves. The Braves were involved in the Crochet trade talks in the summer, and it figures they will be again at the very least to push the Phillies as they did with the Nola negotiations. It also appears, just from reading, this is a guess, nobody's said it, I think they're going to let Max Fried walk.
I think so too.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to get bigger money than I think they historically like paying their pitchers. So I would think Fried is out, and if that's the case, you'd have to think they'd go after that. And if the Braves were able to, run out Chris Sale, Garrett Crochet, and Spencer Strider, that's pretty good.
Reynaldo Lopez bumps to the 4.
Yeah, then you're talking about equal with the Phillies.
Sure,
in terms
it's a very good rotation. There's no doubt.
Yeah, Mariners, Phillies, Braves would be the top 3 in baseball probably.
And so here's my question with the Braves: Are they more willing to? Because you're going to lose out on one of the two. You don't bring Fried back and trade for Crochet. I don't think that just doesn't seem like Alex Anthopoulos' mantra with this team. So my question is, what is more valuable to the Braves? The monetary value of Max Fried and just saying pen to paper, sign Max Fried, and this is what you're going to pay him $30 million, $25 to $30 million a season for the next, what is it? Probably going to be a 5 to 7 year deal for Fried.
I would think
so.
Probably 5.
Does that give the Braves more value, or does moving some prospects, maybe one of the guys who's major league ready, like you talk about a Smith Shawver or a Bryce Elder or one of those type of guys, plus prospects to acquire Garrett Crochet? Like, what do they like better? Do they just want to give up the money, or do they prefer the cheaper pitcher knowing they're going to have to give up the prospects?
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one to monitor for sure. And Max Fried is awesome. Like,
if you're talking about like trade targets, like viable trade pieces, I don't think the Braves are contenders the way that the Phillies could be, the way that the Dodgers will be, the way that the Padres could be. I was saying this to John earlier today. I was watching the PHN or the CHGO show. Like, would the Diamondbacks be willing to move on like a Jordan Lawler, who's a top 10 prospect, to acquire Crochet? It's plausible, right? They just went to the World Series 2 years ago, and what failed them last year was their pitching, right? Their offense scored almost 900 runs. Their pitching was bad because Montgomery was bad, and they had a bulk of injuries, and the bullpen never really regained the form that it did in the 2023 postseason. They could be players. Would they be willing to move on from a player like Lawler remains to be seen. I think there's a lot of teams that would have better options for the White Sox than what the Braves could provide.
Yeah, I agree. And then he goes on to talk about the New York Mets. Now, John Heyman has speculated that the Mets could spend $1 billion this offseason. And that's, of course, if they get Juan Soto.
That's crazy.
But $1 billion in the offseason. Right? Yeah, and they're probably going to be interested in a Max Fried. They're going to be interested in a Corbin Burns. They're obviously going to be interested in Juan Soto. So here's what Buster had to say. The Mets need starting pitching desperately this winter, and they should undoubtedly have a prospect capital to put together an offer. But with David Stearns just starting his second year as the head of operations for the Mets, staffers around the majors believe it makes more sense for Stearns at the moment to use his extraordinary payroll flexibility for free agents rather than dealing his evolving farm system. The Mets are already pursuing Juan Soto, and Stearns obviously knows Corbin Burns well from his days with the Brewers. If they get multiple free agents, then the draft pick hit wouldn't be as severe, one executive noted. One argument for the Mets to load up in a trade for Garrett Crochet. His relatively low salary for the next 2 years would help offset other expenditures. One early concern about the Mets' position players prospects, while they have future major leaguers, do they have enough high-impact young players in which they can anchor an offer for Crochet? So the Phillies, the Mets, the Braves, all probably going to be calling Chris Getz and the Chicago White Sox in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that sentiment too with the Mets. I mean, they have a blossoming payroll capability, and it seems like they don't give a you-know-what about paying the luxury tax threshold. So I tend to agree. They've done a nice job of getting some players for Jacob deGrom, getting some players for Justin Verlander, shedding some of the contracts that do come. Now they come off the books, I think, this year too. A couple of them do.
Scherzer and Verlander, I think, are all for them, right?
Right. And you are going to have to consider they have 3 starting pitchers who I believe are free agents from this team
Minaya,
the NLCS this past year. I think Quintana, Minaya, and Severino are all free agents this year. I don't think they bring all 3 back. I think one is just going to be too expensive to bring all 3. But I wouldn't be stunned if they get at least 1 and probably 2 of those guys back, because they are going to have, it's going to feel like a Premier League team, like the upper echelon Premier League teams that are just going to say, screw it, we're spending money.
Yeah, that's what you fear. And if they get involved, look, they're going to get one of Burns, Fried, or Crochet. I just feel like that's an inevitability. We're going to have to deal with that. I think they get Juan Soto because I think Steve.
Sorry, go ahead. I apologize.
No, that's all right. I just think Steve Cohen will spend more than Hal Steinbrenner. That's all.
Yeah, an offseason where they acquire Juan Soto and a Corbin Burns per se.
And they knocked you out of the playoffs last year?
Would be an unbelievable victory for the Mets, who were a very good team last year. Would be an unbelievable victory for them.
Yeah, I mean, Soto and Lindor, you'd have 2 MVP candidates. How many teams can say that?
The Dodgers?
Well, yeah, the Dodgers.
That's it, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, they're both in the NL. Damn it.
Well, I mean, obviously the A's do too, right? Brent Rooker and Shea Langoliers.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
So great, New York Mets. All right, before we get to our random Phillies trivia of the day, and Will, yesterday's returning champ in the chat, is here for it. Tyler, I got a text from a friend of ours asking for the hints of yesterday's. Actually, I got 2 texts from 2 people in the industry, Jack Fritz and Pat Egan, both asking. First, Jack Fritz was shaming me for not getting Robert Person. And I was like, well, look, in fairness, I did say his name out loud. I just didn't make it my answer. And then second, our buddy Pat likes playing along, and I spoiled it for him by giving the answer instead of the hints. So, all right, let's talk about the quick award crops that have been announced in Major League Baseball. And let's just kind of give our pick for each here, Tyler. So the NL MVP, the finalists
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Shohei Ohtani's going to win it. But the other 2 are Francisco Lindor and Ketel Marte. I think Lindor could pretty much win the MVP with the season he just had, like, all the time. But unfortunately for him, Shohei Ohtani exists. I
think this is going to be one of those instances where your winner gets all the first place votes, your second place gets like all the second place votes, and your third place gets all the third place votes. I think Francisco Lindor will finish a pretty comfortable second this year. Ketel Marte had an incredible year, and I think it goes underrated because of the fact that the Diamondbacks inevitably ended up missing the playoffs. Not his fault. We talked about their pitching stunk. But I think Shohei runs away with this, probably a unanimous decision, and then Lindor will finish second.
All right, the AL MVP. Again, probably an open and shut case, but 2 certainly deserving guys. Aaron Judge, I assume, is going to win it. Juan Soto and Bobby Witt Jr. Bobby Witt is going to get one in the very near future, and Juan Soto's a freak, but I think Aaron Judge is probably going to take home the hardware.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think Bobby Witt is going to win an MVP, might win multiple. He's just a really, really good player. Aaron Judge is going to run away with this thing too. I don't know. I don't think this one's unanimous, but he will win pretty handedly.
Yeah. Ray, yes, Tanner Scott is a free agent, to answer your question in the chat. All right, the NL Cy Young. We have interest in this one. Chris Sale, Paul Skeens, Zach Wheeler. I do believe Chris Sale is going to win it. I think you can make a incredible case for Zach Wheeler. Paul Skeens, much like Bobby Witt, is going to win probably several Cy Youngs in time. It's just not your year, youngster. You missed like 2.5 months of the season. I know that was out of your control. I think Chris Sale gets it, but Zach Wheeler, damn, it's going to be close.
Yeah, I think this will be a close award. I think Wheeler will get first place votes. I think Sale is going to win it. Again, you're right. Skeens, impressive to be here, not pitching the entirety of the year and being a rookie. The kid's stuff is electric. He's going to win a Cy Young at some point in his career. I think Sale wins this. I think you and I have been in lockstep so far. Wheeler will get first place votes, but I think Chris Sale is going to be your 2024 Cy Young winner in the NL.
All right. The AL Cy Young. I
probably don't need to do too much on this one.
Yeah, Tarek Skubal's going to take home the award, but the other finalists are Seth Lugo and Emmanuel can't pitch in the playoffs. Clase are the 3 finalists. Really impressive for Clase to make it into the Cy Young finalists. Seth Lugo, what a comeback story for him.
Really good year. Coming back and becoming a starter again with the Royals. Clase becomes the first relief pitcher since Francisco Rodriguez in 2008 to be a finalist for
K-Rod.
Young. Last Cy Young winner as a reliever, of course, is Eric Gagne back in 2004. But yeah,
you want some trivia here, Mr. Random Philly?
Sure.
Who's the Philly Cy Young winner from the bullpen?
Steve Bedrosian.
What's his nickname? Hot Shot.
I don't know, actually.
Bedrock.
Oh, right. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, it's rare that closers make it to the finalists. So good on Clase. All right. The next award that got named was the NL Jackie Robinson Rookie of the Year award. Pretty good class. Yeah. I don't know where this one's going to go. Jackson Chourio from the Brewers, who Matt Klentak helped and had a hand in signing prior to him to a long-term deal, prior to him even playing a game in the majors. They were right on that one. Jackson Merrill from the Padres and Paul Skeens from the Pirates. I would have to think that Skeens wins this. But like you can make the case for all three of them.
Yeah, I think this is actually a difficult one. I've kind of gone back and forth. I like Jackson Merrill a lot to win this award. I don't think I think they're going to go with the name factor a little bit more. Listen, it's not like he doesn't deserve it. Paul Skeens, 11 wins. I think it was like 180 strikeouts, a near a sub-2 ERA. He's going to win it. I think there's merit to argue Jackson Merrill has an opportunity to win it, but I think Skeens ends up winning it close, but not. I don't think it's going to be as convincing as people maybe immediately jump to the decision of the guy that's in the Cy Young Award race isn't going to like run away with the Rookie of the Year. I think Merrill has merit to it.
Okay, for the AL Jackie Robinson Rookie of the Year award, we have Colton Cowser from the Orioles, a highly touted prospect. Now, Tyler, I know you're on pins and needles if I get this one right. Luis Gil. Did I do it right?
Yes, Luis Gil, correct.
Mr. Pronunciation right here. That's what they call me. And then, of course, Austin Wells, the catcher with a great stash, who had a decent – actually, he was struggling in the postseason and then came through late. But the three of them are the AL Rookie of the Year. I would have to think it goes Cowser, but I would think Gil is probably going to come in second there.
So Gil is the overwhelming favorite right now.
Oh, okay. So Gil's going to win it.
He's minus 250 to win it. It is kind of funny. These two are very distinct. You've got three guys who are really, really, really successful in their rookie years in the NL. And then don't get me wrong, the AL, these guys played well, but it's like a 3.5 ERA guy, a catcher who slashed 229, 322. Colton Cowser hit 24 home runs, but he only hit 242. It's so funny that like any one of the three guys in the National League, if they played in the American League, would be runaway slam dunk American League Rookies of the Year.
Yeah. So the managers of the year, the NL Manager of the Year, we have Carlos Mendoza from the Mets, Pat Murphy from the Brewers, and Mike Schild from the Padres. I would have to think, I don't know. Pat Murphy, you can make a really good case for because the expectations weren't really there. My gut says Schild from the Padres, but Murphy might get some heavy consideration there.
I personally would vote for Pat Murphy because of the fact that they trade away Corbin Burns. They're not expected to be a very competitive team.
Devin Williams is hurt. Like
they go on to win the NL Central extremely convincingly. Now, yes, the Mets, end up beating them in the postseason, and maybe voters will look at that and give the nod to Mendoza. But they also
it's a regular season award, though, isn't it?
Right. So I would go with Pat Murphy in this regard. I think that, if I had a vote, I think I would give it to him.
Yeah, I think I would too. The AL Manager of the Year, you got AJ Hinch from the Tigers, Matt Quatraro, whatever, from the Royals, and Stephen Vogt from the Guardians. What's your vote there?
Yeah, what did we talk about a couple of weeks ago? There's a very realistic chance that all three of the finalists for an AL Manager of the Year end up being from the American League Central. And that's exactly what ended up happening. I think this is a toss-up because all three of these managers had expectations way exceeded. Stephen Vogt in his first year with the team, really, really impressive. Quatraro, again, another not only a first-year manager, but a first-time manager as well as Stephen Vogt. They lost 106 games last year. They end up going to the playoffs. I think voters are going to take a serious look at what AJ Hinch did down the stretch with the Tigers. But if I were to have a vote, I would go with Quatraro in this one. 106 losses last year to the playoffs is incredibly impressive.
Yeah, you're probably right there. And everybody that was viewing on TV, we appreciate your time. If you want to continue watching the show and the random Phillies trivia that's coming up, you can watch on allphly.com, or you can check out our YouTube page. All right, those are the awards. Now time to put my ass on the griddle, Tyler. Yesterday I missed Robert Person. His name is Robert Person. His name is Robert Person. So why don't you explain the game to any newbies that may be in here, and we'll see if I can do better today.
Yeah, so this is a random Philly of the day. You'll get a silhouette and some facts about the player. Every time that you get a new fact, it gets a little bit easier to understand who the player is, but you also lose a point in the game. So game one, Jamie got it after the third hint. He gets 2 points. Yesterday, as you mentioned, I have to bring it up. You got none because you did not get Robert Person. Here is today's random Philly of the day.
Third round pick by your dad got this on the first guess.
Sure did. He's a sicko. He's an absolute sicko.
Would Pat Egan get this on the third guess?
I think actually he may.
Oh God. Yeah, I'm not built like that. I can barely remember what I did last week. Looks like a flat brim hat. I'm gonna be thinking way too hard about that now. All right, no, I am not a sicko like that. Give me the next.
Nothing? All right, no 4 points for Jamie today. Let's see if he can get 3.
Oh, 2014-15. That I have a name in my head, but I don't feel confident saying it yet.
You don't lose any points for getting it wrong. If you've got a name in your head, you might as well take a guess before you lose a chance at a point.
No, there's no
deduction of points for a wrong guess.
I just don't know if this guy was drafted by. I think he was more 2015 than 2014. Your dad's a sicko. He's a sick man if he got that on the first guess.
Yeah, truly sicko. No doubt about it.
All right. Well, the name that was in my mind was Aaron Altair, and I don't think it's him.
It is not Aaron Altair.
Yeah, because I didn't think he was Expos, and I thought he played more in 2015, not 14. Next.
All right, you ready for the next one?
Yeah. 3-time All-Star, led MLB in doubles in 2006. Oh my God. All right. I can't let it go past this one. All right. Third round pick by the Montreal Expos, 99 games. It's like one of those old timers. It's like Kenny Lofton or Juan Pierre or
And so here's what I'm going to tell you. I will say this because I gave this to some of the people that were playing this, like that I was texting with earlier in the day.
Yeah.
If you don't get this, you're gonna see the name and go, damn, he was a good player, a very good player. Didn't play much with the Phillies, obviously.
All right,
a very underrated player. Okay, go ahead.
Grady Sizemore.
Bam.
Yeah. Woo.
Yeah, so your final hint would have been Grady Sizemore was included in a trade that sent Bartolo Colon to the Montreal Expos in exchange for Sizemore, Cliff Lee, and Brandon Phillips.
Wow. What a star-packed trade that was.
Seriously. Really good move by Cleveland.
Yeah, wait, say that trade again?
So Cleveland sent Bartolo Colon, and there was somebody else in the trade. I forget exactly who it was. It wasn't. I think it was maybe Jeremy Lee. I think it was Lee Stevens was the other player in the trade. Let me just double check to get it right here. I believe it was Lee Stevens and Bartolo Colon went to. No, I'm sorry. Lee Stevens also went to Cleveland. So Cleveland sent Bartolo Colon and Tim Drew to Montreal for Cliff Lee, Brandon Phillips, Grady Sizemore, and Lee Stevens.
Wow, what a move by Cleveland. That is that's an unreal trade by the former Indians, now Guardians.
So obviously, Grady Sizemore's career was like derailed by injuries. I mean,
he was a beast, though.
He was good.
Really good. Had a cannon of an arm, played a great defense, could hit for power, could hit for average. He was a stud.
Now I'm gonna ask you this. It's kind of a fun playoff of it. That he and a power hitter combined for a really good duo for a couple of years. Do you remember who the power hitter was?
In Cleveland?
In Cleveland, yep. He had like 3 straight 40 home run seasons and then just vanished.
So this is like probably 2010-ish to 2013?
No, we're talking more like 04 to 06.
Oh, okay. 04 to 06, Cleveland. Oh, I think Elephant in the Room just got it.
Yep.
Was it?
Yeah, it was Travis Hafner.
Yeah. Big meathead looking dude.
Travis Hafner, whose nickname, by the way, was Pronk. Pronk.
What the hell is that?
Something to do. I remember reading an article one time. It was something to do with the fact that it was a combination of a donkey and a plank of wood.
What?
Yep. And then his nickname was Pronk.
That's quite weird. All right. That was a good one. I'm glad I'm off the schneid there. So I'm 2 for 3 now. Haven't gotten any in the first 2 guesses. If you get it in the first...
Sorry. It was donkey and project. And then like they used to say...
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. If you get it in the first 2 hints, I think you're a certified sicko in the head, seam head. That's good work by your father, and I'm sure I'll hear from
another 2 points from you today. Not a bad showing.
Yeah, I'll take 2 points. I'll even take 1 point. No points just hurts, and I think about it way too much throughout the remainder of the day. Now, excuse me while I go dive into some early 2000s Cleveland Indians lineups. To relive the Grady Sizemore days and take a look at his numbers. That was a good one, though. Nice work by you. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Now, tomorrow, slight wrinkle in the plan, and we're going to be live at 11:30 instead of our normal 11 o'clock time, and that's because we got a special guest sitting in with us. Tyler will be producing and part of the show, and Anthony Gargano is going to talk a little Phillies, hot stove, off-season. Which direction do we take this? So I'm really looking forward to sitting in, talking some baseball with Anthony. Always a good time. We will, of course, put Anthony's ass on the Random Phillies griddle and play some trivia with him. And we will probably take a look at not that the right field free agent options are per se needed here. We did mention like Teoscar and a couple guys that are right field eligible. We can take a look at the other right fielders and see if anybody can take a swing over to the other side of the diamond in the outfield and maybe look at those. But to everybody out there, yes, Ray, you birds. I will be in later today doing a pregame show with Fran Duffy and Rich Hoffman. The 3 of us are going to be doing a watch along during the Eagles game from our couches and living room at PHLY. And then, of course, we've got you covered on the night game on Vinny Curry's retirement night.
Yeah, here. How about that?
So congrats to our coworker, Vinny Curry. Awesome night for him and his family. Very happy for him as he is a great dude. So you can't lose on Vinny Curry night, as they say, Tyler.
They do be saying that.
Everybody's saying it. Everybody's saying
sorry, I stopped paying attention for 1 second because my wife has started doing this thing where she knows I'm on the show. She knows I'm with you.
And
she'll send me adorable pictures of the baby.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can you wait 10 minutes? How am I
have you guys started your favorites album yet? You got to share the album.
No, we haven't yet.
Yeah, you got to get on the iCloud, man, and start the file. And then you just heart them and put it in. It's the best, dude. I look back at the baby pictures now and I'm like, everybody tells you this, Tyler. It flies, man. It flies by. So enjoy it. Don't tell her to ever stop sending you pictures. All right. To everybody that hung out with us today, we appreciate you. We thank you. We'll see you tomorrow at 11:30 instead of our normal 11 o'clock. But Jim Salisbury is going to join the show at 11:45, and we'll chop up some of the hot stove with him. But thank you, Tyler, for producing. A lot of fun hanging out with everybody today. Have a great rest of the Thursday, everyone, and go Birds!
We all silly like the mayor.